Welcome, everyone, to the Albi Afterhours podcast here. We talk to restoration contractors on a weekly basis, and we try to dive into some strategies that they use and they become successful within their businesses. Today, I'm super excited to bring Vinnie Guaderrama on board. He is the General Manager of my former baby, Romexterra Construction. And today, we're actually going to be talking about reducing claims friction as a completely independent restoration company. But before we dive into that, I do want to kind of find out more about Vinnie and kind of share you his wonderful story with y'all. Vinnie, welcome aboard. How are you today?
Doing all right. Thanks for having me, Alex. It's good to jump into these types of things. I know we've both been pretty active in a lot of those Facebook groups and whatnot, and I think overall the industry is moving and changing, really for the better. Technology, such as Albi, Matterport, all these things make everything easier for everybody in all facets of restoration, from both the carrier side, the contractor side, and the customer side. At the end of the day, I think ultimately we'll hit a point of where you take a Matterport scan of before and after, and we don't have to write an exactament. I don't think we're too far away from that, and I think that'll be eventually a good thing. A lot of people might get upset thinking about if they can do it better, but as we've all seen, automation just makes life easier for everybody. So
100%.
Hopefully we get there someday. I don't know if it'll be anytime soon, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I can't wait to dive and jam with claims transparency and friction. But before that, I want to make sure that, everyone understands kind of who you are, and why you're here to talk about claims friction. Now, You mentioned groups. I think we actually met on a Facebook group, right?
I think originally, yes, we did. Back when I was at a big competitor here in Chicagoland. I'm one to play nice in the sandbox with competitors, carriers, whoever it is, whatever help I can offer. I think that's why, you and your dad reached out to me. I'm not the average restorer. I actually want to help people. I'm not here to fight tooth and nail. I just don't like the stress is what it boils down to. So if you can help me or I can help you, let's do that. And, that's why I've stayed in restoration as long as I have, is I truly enjoy helping people. And I think that's what restoration is at the end of the day. I could go do bathroom remodels and make more money by charging an arm and a leg, but we're here to actually help people in times of crisis, when they're in duress, when they actually need help, when they need guidance. My mantra when people ask me, do I like what I do? And I say 95% of the time, and that 5% is split in between customers who, are either trying to scam us or think we're scamming them. But, most people are extremely happy to get our services and to get our help and our guidance. And I think it's very fulfilling at the end of the day. Anybody with any skill set can learn a lot in a short period of time. I've trained a lot of people here. I've trained a lot of people at other places to do this, and if you've got the can-do attitude, you can go far here. And I think both you and I are products of that environment. If you get excited, like Laura was saying the other night, oh, sorry, date canceled. We got to go to a fire.
Yeah, that's true. So how'd you end up in this industry, mind to ask? I know, but I want everyone else to find out your wonderful story.
By accident. I was 19 years old and got a bad car accident, and did almost 4 years of physical therapy. And when I got out, my roommate at the time's family owned a business that did this type of work, and just kind of discovered I liked it, and it kind of stuck. I was going to school for network administration, and I don't think that was a viable option for me with how my back was to, stay bent over and plugging in wires in a building for long periods of time. It isn't conducive to the life that I needed, and my back's way better now. But that's why I like being a technician and a crew chief and doing the actual work. It's good physical labor, and it's fulfilling. It's a workout at the end of the day. So it just kind of evolved from there, and I stuck with it. I liked it. I liked helping people. Just the joy that you get when you come into someone's house at all hours of the day and night, and that they're actually happy to see you. I think is fulfilling, and why I've just stuck here, and why I think it was just a good opportunity in life that presented itself, and I've been able to capitalize on the opportunity, which I think a lot of people don't sometimes, and it's hard to see the vision and what can happen when you go through a bad situation. There's a way to find something good in it.
Yep, for sure. So you started at, well, I guess we don't need to name restoration companies, but you started at a restoration company, cleaning restoration as a tech, crew chief. Then I think you worked your way up to, you got hired as a project manager at another company, right?
Yep.
And worked your way up to becoming the lead estimator at that company.
Yeah.
And then after that, I believe, well, we tried poaching you like twice, right? And I think on the third time you came on board, you were hired as a project manager or an emergency service department manager at Romexterra
PM, and it was 2.5 months in. You guys were both just like, here are the reins. You seem to understand mitigation pretty well. You know, and then
shortly after I left, I think you got promoted once more, or you got, actually that's when you jumped up to general manager, right?
Yeah, up to GM. So
got it.
Pretty rapid growth, but you know, I think doing it as long as I have, I know a little bit of everything, which tends to be helpful. Even now, you know, after the exterior estimator left, I picked it up in 2 weeks and hit the ball running, and we put up some good numbers last year on the exteriors, and interesting learning curve to learn something I've never really done before, but there's a lot to do and a lot to understand in all facets of this business. And I think that's one thing I really like about Romexterra is we are full service, so it makes it simpler, and you know, estimates match up, and the claim reconciliation is just easier for the adjuster when you have the same measurements and you don't have wrong things. So it makes their life terrible. I get it on the adjuster side of things when they got 100 claim files and one person's saying they removed 120 square feet of something and the other person says they need to put back 210, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. So I get why they're agitated.
Yeah. So I want to kind of dive in to segue into the topic that we're going to be talking about today, and kind of give some context. Prior to us hiring you as the project manager at Romexterra, I believe you were an estimator at the previous position, right?
Yep.
And can you tell me, like, I believe you're an in-office estimator writing mitigation scopes, right?
Yep,
and
just mitigation.
This was a Chicagoland. Got it.
Chicagoland.
And this was Chicagoland, leader of restoration, Romexterra's biggest head-to-head competitor, right? We were both independent companies. Now, tell me more about, like, you didn't go to any job sites and you were writing mitigation sheets. How much mitigation work were you writing roughly?
Probably around $15 million a year.
Okay, and you didn't step foot at all into a job site writing $15 million a year, right?
Sometimes we'd get busy, and I'd get thrown out into the mess, unfortunately. But
that was like, we got storm surge, and you were a project manager kind of thing.
Yep.
But like for the day-to-day non-storm surge, you were writing this from your desk, right?
Yep.
How were you able to accomplish this? Like, that's a lot of volume. Like, that's a shit ton of volume, dude. How did that work? Tell me
Matterport.
more.
Matterport makes life nice and easy, you know.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that is also kind of getting everybody in line with the documentation process, because you can't just scan and hope for the best. You know, they got to understand.
Okay.
You gotta at least do 180 degrees of all the work that you do. You gotta try and get near those cabinets. You gotta do all this little extra finite work. So it's a lot of training, and it's not just my work, it's the work of everyone around me that makes that possible for that kind of volume to happen, because to send someone around on a daily basis, near impossible to do that unless you're only doing large losses, and you know, all this is residential. So when you look at it like that, it definitely is quite a few jobs on a daily basis, you know, and it becomes very complex in the sense of, when you're missing something, you gotta loop back and send people back out again. But achieving that is really just through the power of technology, having good photos, having good scans from the Matterport, it giving the measurements, being able to sketch quickly, being able to estimate quickly. All of it is just, you know, kind of the economies of scale that come along with using newer and better technology. And, you know, everything I think that I've seen from both Dash, Albiware, every other CRM is getting better, documentation wise, putting together full packages for adjusters, not to speak ill of any carriers, but there's a lot of carriers that systems will kick back ESX files, but we're getting more and more adjusters on a frequent basis who reach out and just like, hey, we see that this all looks good. I have no problems with your estimate. Can you send it so I can just upload it into my and put my letterhead on it? Sure, no problem. Like, thank you for appreciating good quality work. We spend a lot of time making the detail, and I think that's more important than just the volume is the quality of work at the end of the day.
Yep.
Making sure that something extremely accurate comes out, because I could write that much 15 million, but if it's gobbledygook and gets revised to 10 million, what was the point?
Exactly.
It's the high level of accuracy, at least for me, that I want to get out there and to help make this process easier for all parties involved, from beginning to end.
Got it. So how many estimates would that be roughly per day, do you say you were cranking out?
Normally at least 15.
On an average day.
Probably about 15.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Busy day would be 20 to 25, maybe 30 if they were mid-size, but it would normally be somewhere around 150 to 250,000 in mitigation, in busy modes.
Okay. So I'm going to be, had I not known you and seen what you've done prior to hiring you, I would be the typical restorer to call you out and say, you're full of shit. Like, There's no way, right? So let's just kind of peel that, tear that Band-Aid off. What do you have to say to the person that says, you're full of shit? There's no way you wrote 15 million. There's no way, you could bang out estimates that quick. And again, for whatever it's worth, everyone watching this, like, I can attest that this shit's real. It's crazy, right? But it's how it should be. And I think that, go fire your estimator and find a Vinnie, or make your estimator into a Vinnie. But Vinnie, how in the world does that even add up? Like, what's the magic here? Like, one, we said you don't have to go to the job sites, right? Mm-hmm. Two, we said we're leveraging 3D imaging technology.
Yep.
I think you also have a photographic memory, so let's add that like 3, or just a little weird like that. But what else? Yeah. What am I missing?
I think it's understanding how to use macros and understanding what the types of losses are, in the sense of, this is one thing that I would kind of pummel into project managers' heads as I would train them is, there's really only about 10 to 12 different types of losses. Did it come from above? What's the material? How long did the water sit? What type of water it is? And everyone gets confused quickly because they're just like, I've never seen this before. And I'm like, you definitely have. It's just in a new building with new people, and don't be scared. And I think once you start getting over that and build the confidence of that and understanding the macro and how to sketch quickly, the underlayments make life super easy. I can do, a 3,000 square foot sketch in 3-4 minutes, no problem. You just doop, 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 doop. And that's really what it is understanding your macros, understanding how to sketch properly. And once you do that, you format your one room, you copy, and you just keep pasting, editing, and making sure that you're accurate at the end of the day. But especially when you go into sump pump season, it's all 2-foot flood cuts, easy peasy. There's no reason that your estimator should be in customers' houses for 2 hours trying to write estimates. Just draw a box and hit a 2-foot flood cut macro and go, all right, well, it would be more, but I didn't draw these sub rooms, and your basement's 50 by 20. Here you go. Here's my equipment. 10-minute estimate. Explain it to the customer. We'll change it for repairs because I need that to be accurate. Yeah. But understanding how to write things quickly when you can write it quickly, and that's not what you do with the Matterports. It's all just high level accuracy, but learning just that skill set of how do I do this quickly first, and then figuring out how to do it accurately. I think is very important that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to estimating is they want every finite detail, and that comes with years of experience in my opinion, so to say. Learn how to do it properly but quick first, then work on the definition. And that's the thing that I've always taught project managers is start basic. Don't go shooting for curved walls and curved stairs. We'll figure that out later. Especially you. You as an exactament trainer, very much so understand everyone's trying to master these finite details, and it's like, just pump the brakes. You don't need that right now. We'll worry about that later.
You're preaching to the choir. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
So to kind of recap for the viewers out there, right? Pre-Matterport scan or DocuSketch, because I'm not going to be partial, even though I do think Matterport's great. Post-Matterport scan, right? Grouping all your losses into 12 to 15 different macros, right? Categorizing those losses. And then the other thing that I think you did very smartly when you became Emergency Service Department Manager at Romexterra is you trained the project managers and the crew chiefs to give you templatized notes, right? I remember in the job description or in the sandbox within Albi, and before that was PSA, right? You had literally a format that was followed, right, to check off all of those items, and it was just put into a note that communicated that, right? So
yeah,
cool. So if you get all the info, got it. So if you get all the info that you need, you can categorize things. Then 90% of the work can get done through the Matterport underlay and macros, and then your final 10% of the polish is what? Reviewing 2 different Matterport plans and then maybe flipping through some photos real quick, right?
Yeah, a lot of that's mainly the photos are for timestamps and to make sure that you're billing for after hours or regular hours when you're supposed to, and kind of teaching the guys, don't just always take close-ups. I need to orientate myself in the room. Like, I see you're working, it looks like in the kitchen after 5 o'clock, so I'm going to build a kitchen after hours. But you run into those sorts of things. But having something that is not, I need to check all these boxes, but just written out smoothly for the technicians to do that and not make them do a bunch of extra work to get the information that you need is what really makes it possible. Because when you start making, I've got three pages of things that the guys need to fill out. No, I don't need all that. Like, started working kitchen after 5 p.m. and just taking some general photos that you need to do anyways. You start to learn how to derive the information from just a little bit of information, and that's what the economies of scale comes from, is not adding all of these complex layers that don't usually add too much value. I can still write it very accurately because I know how to do the work. I would go out there and do it, and I think that's also a big part of it, that there's a lot of people who've never picked up a chalk line, and they don't know what to do inside of a property when it comes to actual mitigation. They're like, I'm a great estimator. Can you do it? No.
So you're saying if we're going to make this super simple for the crew chief and or maybe the project manager, we need work auth signed, COC signed, pre-Matterport scan, post-Matterport scan, photos, and a couple of notes, like an on-site note, next day note, and a final day note. If you're saying if you get those 6 things, you're able to knock out an accurate estimate, right?
Yep, very easily.
Ooh.
If I got my Matterports and my photos, I half the time don't even need the notes. They can be helpful. But very seldomly do I rely on them, because all the data can be derived from the timestamps from the Matterport, because I'm doing all the measurements. I obviously can't see under lifted carpet. I need to know. I remove 75% of the pad underneath. Thanks, guys. Otherwise, I'm like, I don't know. I can't guess this right. Those sorts of finite details, but anything surface level, your photos and your Matterports will allow you to really do everything that you need to do at the end of the day to write accurate estimates that our adjusters are happy with.
So let's get into controversy, because I like to spice things up.
I know you do.
So, what about HVAC readings, LGR input and output readings, moisture readings, moisture diagrams with all of the shaded areas of what was wet, and all of these super complicated things that IICRC certified technicians should know how to do? We didn't mention any of those.
No, we didn't. A lot of those things.
Cut, or
it's a double-edged sword there. You can increase your top line, but your accounts receivable is usually going to go up by adding those things, and it's a double-edged sword there. Of do how much extra do you want to get paid, and how much are you playing into the carrier system because they're asking for extra documentation and they get extra time to review and hold on to that money.
Mm-hmm.
And when you read books about how insurance companies work, you understand that they don't really see this $1,000 loss as much different than a $25,000 loss until you get to 75K. You're not really with a large loss adjuster. It's all in the same pool of money because they're a hedge fund and they're making the money work. So the longer they hold it, works better for them. So it really depends on what your business strategy is, in my opinion, on how to handle all of that. But a lot of that can still be derived from the photos, because you'll see that technicians were on site during this day, during these times, and it's easy to still document. I don't have to sift through a lot of data to figure it out. It's not like we're doing FEMA protocol where I need to have the massive rise with a big drop in all the equipment. It's very different in residential. So no matter what your business model is, a lot of it can still be derived at the end of the day from very simple data. Everyone's always looking to deep dive into it, and I think a lot of that's just having faith in your fellow employees to do their job right and to look for what the red flags are, where I shouldn't send this out yet because the file's not complete. When you understand those sorts of things, those are the important things of where I'm sending someone back out to take more measurements and that kind of stuff, so we don't send out inaccurate product. And that's, I think, the most crucial part is knowing where the red flags are and when to pump the brakes and wait.
Yeah. No, you're preaching to the choir here. I think as an industry, we've overcomplicated what I would call business as usual, right? Now, clearly there's your large losses where, you've got $50,000 to $100,000 worth of equipment sitting on a loss, where clearly the extra day would cost the carrier a ton of money and they push back. But, your typical, so-and-so adjuster asking for dry logs, it's like, well, I'm not a vendor. If you have any issues with how I dried things, go ahead and look at the documentation and challenge it, but otherwise pay me. And I'm also not putting in screws into the sill plate and trying to dry the structure for 25 days so I can milk the cow, right? Yeah. So I love that, man. Thanks. You hit the nail on the head.
Both are justified at the end of the day, but how much do you want to fight and how long do you want to draw things out is what it really is. And are you doing a disservice to the customer at the end of the day? That's what I tend to care about more than anything. And like every time I'm interviewing someone, I usually tell them straight up to know who I am. Like, I don't want a single penny that's not mine, but I will fight you tooth and nail for every penny that is at the end of the day. So if I documented and I invoiced for it, like, just pay me. I'm not here to negotiate with you. My estimate is clean and accurate. This is what we did. So help me help you. Let's move this along.
100%. So you're giving all of this info, which some people would freak out to give, but you're giving the ESX, you're giving the Matterport, you're giving all the photos, everything on the front end, right? And that just opens up the box of claims transparency, and you're saying that it reduces the friction between the claims adjuster and you, right? And therefore you get paid faster, things are more amicable. Now, why, again, do you, as an independent restoration company, care about the relationship with the claims adjuster? He's the bad guy, right?
I'd say the opposite. They're the person that I work with frequently, unfortunately. I ultimately do care for the customer, but you get those customers who want you to try and pull one over on an adjuster, and I'm like, that's gonna just put a bad taste in their mouth. And next time when I am doing something right, they're going to think that I'm scamming because that's what you want. And that's the farthest thing from the cases. These are people that we work with every single day, and I get it on their end. They're working 100 files, and, they've got one contractor with these measurements and a different contractor with these measurements, and their field adjuster, didn't draw a room that's an L, it's just a box. And they're like, well, we're going to have to do a reinspection. And it's like, why? Like, look how detailed my sketch is, and your adjuster just drew a frickin' box. Come on. Just trust me, we're good. Just use mine. But and those sorts of things just take time, unfortunately, to develop. And I don't think anyone's the enemy. The only time I'd say that adjusters are the enemy is when they're trying to screw customers. When second floor
Flat
toilet
out, yeah.
overflows, and they're just like, it's a backup, and I'm like, well, okay, let's. I don't know who taught you how to do this, but sure, and you're seeing it more and more. I've got a roof with 43 squares, and the adjuster wants to replace 80 shingles. What is that? What am I supposed to do here? You're gonna come with me and lift up every shingle and figure out which of these you want me to replace? You're out of your mind, sir. You're seeing more and more of that lately. Those are the bad people that don't take care of the customer who paid the premium, who it should have coverage for what needs to be done to their homes. And we're not here to argue dollar amounts. I'm here to argue the scope of work. I don't want to do shoddy work at the end of the day, and we're unfortunately seeing that more and more. And the adjusters who are in agreement with that are the ones who are happy to take the claim documentation that we provide, because they know we're sending out good quality product. We actually care for the customers. I'm not here to scam anybody, and it's a hurdle, but it's a good one to try and climb, I think.
That's awesome, man. I love the way you think. It's like we worked for the same company or had the same vision or something. Like, but yeah, you're spot on. I mean, I think. I think a lot of restorers, like, they don't get the fact that, I'm all pro being independent. I'm all pro let's not do vendor work. But at the end of the day, the ecosystem is the insurance ecosystem. And at the end of the day, a pissed off adjuster that thinks you're a scammer doesn't really help you in the long run as you're growing and scaling your business. And, you need to be able to deal with them from a professional matter and, fight the fight where it's worth and just move on. So, Vinnie, this was super, super, super fun. Thank you for all the gold nuggets that you've given our audience here. Any last remarks or anything that you want to throw out, like an extra bonus prize or anything like that?
I'm sure maybe we'll make a guest appearance at your next Xactimate training. I can show some people how to estimate quickly, so everyone who calls BS, maybe we can show them how it's done. More than happy to do something along those lines. I think more people putting out better product just in general helps the industry, and making sure that everyone's educated will make a difference on all parts. Like I said, I'm hopeful for the day where we do a pre and a post scan and it works with Xactimate and says, all right, you remove this much drywall and this much flooring, and voila, we're done. I don't think we're too far away from that. Someone's probably working on it somewhere. Hopefully we get there someday. But until then, let's keep working together. It's an interesting, fun space.
Absolutely. I think a lot of, to kind of conclude, a lot of restoration contractors need to understand that they need to be different than others in order to succeed and gain market share. And sometimes being different means you have the most expensive technology or the most robust technology, put it that way. I think Matterport's like $3,000 a month now for Romexterra, roughly.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not cheap, but so worth it.
Yeah. And it's $3,000 every single camera. But hey, if it puts you in the top probably 5 to 10 restorers within the Chicagoland area, I'll take it. Any day of the week and twice on Sunday. So
yeah, I mean, just your ability to work anywhere, not having to spend all that windshield time, wear and tear on company resources, it pays for itself. Man, it saves money.
We should go to Matterport, have them pay us for this sponsorship.
That would be great. Or we're gonna switch to DocuSketch if they don't sponsor us.
We'll knock on DocuSketch's door and be like, hey, this podcast was a hit. You want me to put in DocuSketch? No, but seriously, it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't care whichever you use as a restorer. Just advanced tech. Make your life easier, stand out. I think that's the ethos. Customers first, innovate, and be friendly with the adjusters.
Yep.
Diplomatic, I guess. So,
yeah, that's all you got to do. Awesome.
Great, man. Well, looking forward to have you on the podcast again. Thank you so much for taking the time out of the day.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Take care, Vinnie.
Cool. Have a good one.